Good morning. So, I want to talk about the spiritual awakening, a twin flame journey, and what the inner work that we are doing on this journey. So, what is the purpose? Where are we going to? What is it that we are doing? We're purifying ourselves. We're going through our childhood traumas. We are coming into ourselves, into our higher selves. But what is it that we're doing so we can put a finger on it, so we can know where we're going? So really it's coming back to our center, coming back to clear our vibration and become divine, divine feminine or divine masculine. And what is divine? Divine is of God essence, divine. So we're coming back to our connection with source. We're purifying our vibration, bringing ourself into center, into a purified vibration. That means that we are balancing our inner self out in order to have that pure connection back with source. So we're coming back to our source energy, our essence of our being, the essence of our souls. And in order to do this, think about it, divine, we are coming into our goddess energy or our God state. We're coming into, what is divine is of God. So we are coming back to our divinity. We're coming back to a place of purity. We're purifying ourselves to as we were born, only we have already collected all of this life experience. So when you come back to a state of purity or a state of tmimut. Tmimut is when you are when you can take your judgment off of things and you can come back into seeing everything pure and clean. So you are in your God state. So we're coming back into, we're becoming a goddess. We're embracing the God that is within us, the goddess. And the thing about the God essence is that God essence is everything, is in everything around you. In the divine, there is pure patience. There is pure love. There is no pressure. There is no. So when you watch nature and you see how things naturally grow and expand in nature, you can align yourself with that. There is no force in nature. There is only there's pure patience. Everything is of patience. And so when you are in your divine self, you're not, with the twin flame journey is something I've been thinking about in the last couple of days. There is no chasing after. When you are in your goddess, and you're coming back into your pure self, you understand that everything unfolds in perfect timing and divine timing. There is a divine way of things opening up. There is a divine timing to everything. There is a sequence of events, and the more you let go and not and remove your ego, trying to force things to go along quicker, trying to force things to go down a certain route, trying to uh, be in charge rather than allowing, then you are out of your God essence. You are not in that place that is in knowing that everything happens for a reason, that everything is happening just as it is supposed to be. When you start forcing, you start pushing your God essence away from you and you become out of balance. And notice that when you're trying to get to a certain outcome or you're trying to force something, you're out of balance in yourself. You have pressure and you start feeling stuck. You start you slow things down when you try to make them go faster. It's kind of like a um it's kind of like a irony there. So by letting go and allowing, then you allow the flow to come through you and to come in a perfect sequence of events in a way that you could have never even imagined. And so on this twin flame journey, the job that we have to do, what we can do, is work on our inner selves. And how do we do this? By finding balance within. It's also the spiritual awakening. Twin flame journey is all that is an initiation into a spiritual awakening. So you don't have to be on the twin flame journey in order to be on a spiritual awakening path. The twin flame journey is just an initiator, and it keeps on igniting you and pushing you forward because you have these external mirrors, which in a spiritual awakening, you also have the divine guidance and the spiritual and the mirrors. So from the universe around you, there's mirrors in every single person that we meet. Um, with the twin flame journey, it's like having an exact mirror that is going to mirror you back to yourself every single time, exactly where you're at. So it's kind of like an acceleration. Um, so what is our job on this spiritual awakening? What we're doing is we're finding inner balance. So it's finding inner balance between our masculine and feminine energies. So we have to bring those into balance, but it's finding it's there's much more in it than that. It's also finding balance between our soul and our ego. So during the spiritual awakening, our ego dissolves into our soul. It becomes maybe that's not the right way to put it. Our ego dissolves and we become the masters. We, our higher being, become the masters of our ego. We understand that we are not our ego and that our ego is a tool that is within us, that is a container for our behaviors, for our archetypes, for our structures of behavior, for our beliefs, for our memories, for our judgments, for our perception, for perception is witness, and then it's what we put on what we witness. So we witness I'm sitting here, so I'm thinking a rock falling off the mountain. So we might have all sorts of judgments about it, like how far is it going to go, rather than just watching it and releasing it, which is at the soul level. So the soul came into this body so that it can collect through the ego um, um, behaviors, uh, memories, a knowledge, so that we can build on that knowledge and expand that knowledge and come to conclusions. And when we come to conclusions, we're expanding. We're constantly expanding. So if you look at society, you can see that all the ways of society are expansion of conclusions from generations and generations and generations, thousands of years of perception, conclusions, and expansion. So somebody invented a wheel, and then somebody invented a wheelbarrow, and then somebody invented, the carriage, and then somebody invented the car, and then so we're constantly taking and evolving information, and without this container, then there would be no nothing to evolve. It would just be pure watching. It would just be a pure witness of what is. So this ego serves a purpose. Our ego is our being, is our personality is in our ego, our the language that we know. So our egos, you know, a lot of times you hear uh, like negative things about the ego, but the ego is your ultimate life tool. It's what allows you even to have this experience, this life experience. And so during the spiritual awakening, there is the ego death, and then it's like the ego loses its power over us. So we take control of the ego, and we have to find balance in between the ego and the soul, because the soul without the ego cannot have this experience and cannot reside in this body. And the ego without the soul is like letting the tail wag the dog. It's like giving your power away to, the ego has all sorts of structures in it. It has the good structures, the structures serve us well. All of the structures serve us well. But if we allow our ego just to be like a weed field and just allow it to do whatever it wants, there's all sorts of emotions that it can fall into, like jealousy and vengeance and those are the things that our higher self trains us. Those are tools for us to use in this lifetime. All of those feelings are here to push you further along, so that you have ambitions, so that you have um, perception of yourself compared to others. This whole life is a contrast. You have to have comparisons of, um, if I'm going to sit on this stone, then there is going to be a contrast between me and the stone. There has to be a meeting place that gives me the boundaries of where I am located. So you can see this also in structures of meeting other people with their personalities. Where I meet others, that's why when you have a large bulk of people, like in big cities or society, a whole society, it feeds off of itself because we are feeding off of these mirrors. We are having contrast with the meeting with other people. We can always see where we are. If we just lived on the mountain and never met anybody else, we wouldn't have any kind of comparison to where we are in comparison to. And so it's like the tree that falls in the forest doesn't make a sound, right? You have to have contrast in your life in order to have any kind of boundaries and any kind of structure and any kind of progression, any kind of even a mirror to know where you are at. So there is a very good purpose for all of these emotions that we have and all of the things that come up, but you don't want to allow your ego. It's like my twin said, um, he said it about something else, but it also applies here, that your ego is a very good servant, but a horrible boss. So you don't want to let your ego take you for the ride. So it's finding a balance, and your soul can't have this life experience without the ego and without the body, right? Because then it's you could call it death. It's life. There's life and death as well. You continue on after this lifetime, but if this body and this container is what allows you to have this lifetime and this life experience and to ascend. And aren't we the lucky ones? Aren't we the lucky ones that we are ascending, that we're even to perceive this conversation, even to understand this level, is we're already on such an ascending level, even to understand that we are separate from our ego and that our ego is a tool for us to use. So really there's this inner balance that we need to find, and it's a balancing out of so many different things. It's our feminine and our masculine coming into our divine feminine. It means that we're also balancing out our divine masculine energy that we have within us. We are of pure God essence. So there is a pure balance within us. And it's balancing out our soul and our ego. So we have to find that place that is right in between. I see it kind of as like finding this place that is in between heaven and earth. So you have to find this place that is in between the ethers. It's kind of like living in the portal. It's kind of like living with one foot on the ground and your hand in heaven. It's like opening up the portal to heaven and balancing yourself right in the middle, so you're not ever fully, you go back and forth so that you can get contrast, but when you find that perfect balance, your perfect vibration is in synchronicity with the dark and with the light, with the higher levels and with the ground, water and fire. You're finding your air and ground. You're finding the perfect point, which is this whole experience, is the perfect point in between. It is the one point of power of mass, energy, time, and space. It is the perfect one point where all of those things come in and they meet at the one You could see it as like in mathematics. Like these different graphs, and then they have a point of where they meet. There's a point where all four of these cross and meet. And imagine how many other dimensions that aren't crossing and meeting. This is just one where we have these four that meet perfectly in this spot, and that is where we got to be. And our being is also mass, energy, time, which time is what everything plays out on, and mass, energy, time, and space. So we have all of these things within our being. So we are at a perfect balance point. So we have to find the perfect balance in between all of these things so that we can live the divine God essence. Then we are experiencing life to the fullest on all of these different points. So there's so much in us that we have to balance out. It's the divine masculine and divine feminine. And when we find the balance in between that, we are also being a beacon of light, and we are able to um, feed that energy, that balance. We are able to be an example of it for others, and we're balancing out that energy in the universe, in this platform, on this 3D platform where we are. Because imagine when you find the perfect balance in between those, you can see it energetically. It's like a pull and a push. It's like one point, and as you move through this 3D existence, that point of magnetation moves with you. And as you move through it, you are healing the rest of the planet. You are healing those around you. You are creating a tsunami. You are creating a force. You are also magnetizing to you those who need that, because we're all connected. We're all connected on this big mesh. You could see it. And you draw to you those who need that, or those that are closest enough to even recognize it. Sometimes if somebody is not even close enough to recognize it, it will repel them because it threatens their existence because they are unable to understand it. It is such a powerful force, finding this balance between feminine and masculine. It is such a powerful force. It's a powerful magnetic draw, but it's also a powerful magnetic push, because we have everything within us. And so you can either powerfully draw people to you, their experiences to you, or you can repel them, but with like massive repulsion. So, and that is an experience that a lot of people that are watching my videos have written in about, how when you come to this place where you come into yourself, that a lot of times people will be taken aback from it. They're afraid of it, or they fight against it because it meets them in their being. We're fine. It meets them in their being in places that they're not ready quite to touch yet, or it wakes up things that's becoming a mirror outwardly to others of where they are located. Um, and so as we're going along this process, we're also balancing out our divine feminine and our divine masculine. And a map for this really is, if you can go online and you can search feminine traits, masculine traits, and you can look up archetypes, and you can find in yourself these structures of behavior, and you can find where you're not standing in the power of your archetype. So any place that you feel weakness, you can also follow your emotions within. All of the answers are within us. I'm just saying if you want to search up the attributes so that you can really have like a map, and you'll know when you see a truth, it resonates with you. You don't have to take anybody's truth. When you see something, you will recognize it when you find a truth. And so you can really trust your intuitions on it. A lot of times it's just, when I was diagnosed with chronic, what is the word, when you go through traumas and post trauma. And for me, it became empowering. Oh, I have a map. I have a map. People ahead of me, it's just like I was saying, like we're laying down the ground. People ahead of me have already there's a lot of very intelligent people that have laid out a map of this and have studied this and have devoted their lives to this. And when we are always building information on information, that's this life force. We're taking, we don't have to create the wheel was already created. And so a lot of times, because we're living in these times, there's a lot of shortcuts to a lot of different things. So when I got that diagnosis, first of all, I was shocked. I didn't believe it at first, but then once I did believe it, it's anything that happens in the mind can be repaired in the mind. And so it gave me really a map, and I got curious and I studied, and I don't really have um, yeah, I've pretty much gone through that. It's not something that sits with me. I'm just, I don't even say it. I don't have, it doesn't affect my life in any way now. Not that I give power to, say with focus. Sometimes I wonder if my focus is because of that, but I don't think so. Um, so really you can repair anything that's in your mind with your mind. So a lot of times there's shortcuts. So instead of me having to figure out the whole game, I can go in and look at what other people have figured out, and I can take what is relevant for me, because this is our own individual path. We know what's relevant for us. Nobody else can know what's relevant for us, but you can use other people's studies and other people's information and things that they have come to build on your own study. And that's kind of like I feel with this twin flame community, that there are many of us that are putting out a lot of information from our own experiences that is helping others, and then we are also feeding off of each other. And so it's really of love light, and of pure, helping one another, and in it we're rising together. We're receiving more information and giving more information. So receiving information, adding on to that information, seeing another insight, because each of us see things differently and are able to explain it differently, and bringing out more information. Also with the spiritual awakening and people that are going through this, we're so lucky to have YouTube. We are so lucky to live in a time where the individual person can come in and put out their knowing and their knowledge, and other people that are all the way around the world can connect. This is just amazing times to be alive. Amazing times to be alive. This is like no other. Like no other. Coffee. My morning coffee. And so really we need to find that balance of, to balance our inner self out. There are different balances that we need to find. There's the balance, the emotional balance. There's the masculine, feminine balance. So you can go in and find where you're not in your empowering yourself in your masculine energies. A lot of times as feminines, we're taught that we have to be the damsel in distress, or opposite of that, we're taught that we have to be the man, and that we have to go out and work in a man's world. And that is not in our nature, because we are divine feminine. So we have all those attributes in us so that we can work with them in the world, because if they weren't in us, we wouldn't be able to recognize them, and we wouldn't be able to work with them in the world. But we have to find that balance, and the place where we're standing in our strength and in our, also our divine masculine attributes, and also our divine feminine attributes. As a female, we are different than the man. And today's world and today's society, this generation, my generation, we were already raised in a generation where the workforce is a man's playground. And a woman coming in to a workplace and playing in the man's playground does not have the advantage. If a woman comes in her divine feminine and plays in a mainly masculine workplace, and you can, I'm not going to go into it, but you can look it up on your own. You can see it on your own. The coming into a workplace where there's competition, you're competing for, you're competing for customers, you're competing for. It's not a place of the divine feminine. It's more of a masculine energy if you just look at it energetically. And so we're in this playground of the divine masculine. We're always, if we're playing the divine masculine's game, we are always going to be at a disadvantage because by nature, we are different creatures. That's just what it is. We look different. We are different. We have different reproductive, we feel different. There isn't, it's not an even, well, it is even, but it's not the same. Divine masculine and divine feminine are different. Divine masculine, they have, you could even see it like in the reproductive system. They have something that is outer. It's like plus and minus, and they have something that is outer. And we take within us. It's a completely different feeling, even sexually. you know, Putting yourself into somebody or allowing somebody to come into you is completely different. Different vulnerability, different. It's a different feeling. You can feel that there's a different essence there, and so it's a different play. It's a different ball game. But if you come into the masculine playground and you bring your divine feminine, your goddess energy, you already have an edge. You're already playing on your own ball field. And when you learn how to use this goddess energy, you see that you are a goddess. And that it gives you an advantage. It gives you, if there is, especially since everything is so out of whack, everything is so uneven in the world today that there isn't a balance between feminine and masculine, and everybody is running around with their head between their tails, not knowing what to do because we are out of balance. It's like a big guessing game. Everybody is, no, you're supposed to be this way, no, you're supposed to be that way, no, you're supposed to be that, and everybody, it seems like, is lost because there is no spiritual guidance in the world today. Today the spiritual has been kind of taken off the table, and everything is analytical, not everything, and I know that everything is not absolute, but in the big picture, when you look at the matrix, everything is working on 3D based, very, very 3D based. We are not, we're trained in school to stuff knowledge into our mind, which our mind is our tool, but we're being taught that our tool is who we are. So we're just getting knowledge stuffed into our brain. We're not being taught how to use it as a higher being. We're just being taught, it's like training the body instead of training the soul. It's like training the dirt instead of the life force. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but energetically, I can imagine you're getting the picture of what I'm saying. And so it's really finding this this balance between your masculine and your feminine in you. And each of us, this balance point is a different point because we have, two different grades and we are different people. We're different entities. And some of us, our divine masculine is more, in the masculine, the divine masculine is more dominant, and in the female, the divine feminine is more dominant. But you can find the baseline and balance these out to where you create this perfect balance. And then we need to find the balance between the soul level and the ego, which is the balance between your God essence and the Satan essence, which is the Satan essence is, and take the attached ideas that you have to Satan out of it. Satan, let's just say, is the 3D, is the meat body, the ego body. So we have to find the balance in between, and I already talked about this. So in between our God essence and between our soul level and the ego, and marry them, they become one. It's when you find that perfect balance in between the two, and so that you can have this perfect spiral of perception and collection of information, and still knowing who you are and where you are and what your essence is. And it is also balancing out your emotions. So you find this emotional balance between the light and the dark. So there's so many different balances that we find with, and also finding the balance between between being in the higher realms and being in the menial tasks of this earth. It's finding so many balances. It's like finding perfect balance and harmony within yourself. And then you can be in your full power. You can be ascended. It's part of the spiritual awakening is not ascending from the 3D. Part of this experience is finding balance within for your body. Also, within your body has to live on this plane, on this 3D plane. So it's also finding the balance between the higher realms and the lower realms, the satanic realms, you could call it. Up until a few hundred years ago, and this is something my twin also taught me. Up until a few hundred years ago, this was Satan's realm, which all it means is it's the realm of matter. It's not evil. It's just matter. It's substance rather than God level. So maybe that's how it got its because people have put such a worth on substance, like finding their own worth in what car they drive, or how many rings they have on their fingers, or how much wealth they have accumulated. But then what happens when all the wealth goes? They're worthless in a second, right? So you can't put your worth outside of yourself. Your worth is within yourself always. So really on the spiritual awakening path, and I'm going to try to sum this up now, the spiritual awakening path is finding that perfect balance. It's the balance between your masculine and feminine, the balance between your soul and your ego, the balance between the heavenly worlds and the physical world. Is it's finding harmony for your body as well. This body is our chamber. It's where we get to have this experience. It's the collector of our soul. It's our container. We need to be kind to our body. We need to find comfort for our body within the 3D world, because that's where our body resides. So part of the spiritual awakening is also taking care of our body, taking care of this mass of meat, so that their mass of meat can be comfortable. We as a higher being take care of it so it can be comfortable and it can be healthy, and we tell it what to do, and it's under our observation. It's under our responsibility. It's like having this beautiful child that we get to take care of, and we have to pamper, and we get to, make sure that it has all of its comfort zones, so that because it serves us and our higher being. So once our body is comfortable in this 3D, it's like making a nice bed, a nice feather bed for our bodies to lay in, so that we can be free to have this higher experience, this beautiful life experience. We have to make sure that our body. Have you ever noticed that when you're in pain, even if you have like a small pain in your finger, you get a sticker. It takes you out of that high place. Now all of a sudden you're dealing with the body in the 3D. So the first thing, let's make sure that our body is comfortable and is clean and is taken care of and is pampered, so that we can be free to have this wonderful experience. So the spiritual awakening is also about the body, and also about finding balance in this 3D world. Think about it, this 3D world, and what allows us to have this experience are those 4 elements, time, matter, space, and energy. And all of those things are within us. So we need to find the perfect pinpoint within us that also balances all those things out, so that we can have a perfect experience in this platform, on this platform. So it's finding the ultimate balance. It's not just the balance between the masculine and the feminine. It's the ultimate balance within us, emotional balance, the balance between heaven and earth, the balance between masculine and feminine, the balance between black and white, the balance between with our emotions. And our emotions are this massive, when we don't have control of our emotions can be this massive ball of source of pain, or it's just let go to go all over the place, because we have spectrums within our emotions. And on the one side we have extreme heights of beauty and joy, and on the other side we can go down to the lowest levels of sorrow and shame and all of those dense emotions. So it's finding a balance also there, that those things do not define us, that we define them. Those are our tools for this life. And through finding all of the balance, then we come back to Eden. We come back to this perfect place of heaven on earth during this experience. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and sum it up here. So sending you lots and lots of love. Subscribe and like the video. That helps others find the videos. So thank you. I appreciate it.